all the principals went over it. A couple people in district office, you know, sometimes they just have a different perspective or find something that we might have missed.
So are we looking at 23rd, okay, December 22nd, talking about that day, and then the start moving running, and then that's when, is that what we're doing?
Yes, now with the holiday, I'm not gonna have the answers to you by Monday of the week, so I will come back. No, if it stays with you, then we can vote on it. We can come back with the different, what we were able to find out. If there's any other options, we can bring it back in January and then put it on the agenda.
Maybe for Mary to do some investigation as to what this was.
I'm willing to give on that one. Mary may not be so sure about it. I do like it. Talk about it. Have a program.
We do.
They do want to, I mean, it's pretty good.
Well, if there'd be more information up there about one fields and stuff. And the other. Some people would miss it.
Yeah, probably should have been in a board report, so I'll make sure that's not missed next year. And it could have been, and I was just making it so I'll bring that back in January. So, the next thing we're gonna talk about is, I know, I felt really bad, I'm really sorry guys, this is a long one, and I knew it was gonna be a beefy meeting, so. So this is our annual data presentation. And I'm just gonna look off my screen and face you guys, if that's okay, you can look behind me. So our annual data 25-26 gets the same keystone. I also have a little bit of iReady data in here, so we'll try to walk through a little bit of everything. I'm not driving. Okay, next slide. So Ms. Johnson alluded to this earlier, where we did see gains in almost every area last year. So you'll see, actually, do you guys care if I stand up? Okay, I'm going to stand. That's how. Well, since it's back here and Carrie's driving, it just makes sense. So you'll see in the brackets are the plus or minus from last year. So you will see ELA in every grade except 5th grade showed an increase, which is a lot better than we fared last year, where we had more negatives than positives. And then in math, we had all positives as well, except for 7th grade took a hit, and so they had a negative. But again, when you're looking at all of these data points, there's 12 up here, and only 2 went down. So, you know, I sometimes talk to Nick when he comes in for agenda reviews, and I would say to him, like, we're looking stuff today, and what we're looking for is incremental progress, like every year doing better and every year doing better. And I would say having 10 out of 12 data points being in the positive is definitely a step in the right direction. And then obviously the 3 data points down here that the gentleman shared with you last week are all in the positive as well. So really then, 2 out of 15 are the negatives. And then this is the state, they come up with this, this building level number. And so we did go down 1.1 in that, and the state is 48. Here we went up 4.3, and the state average is 41.7. Here we went up 4.3. We're still missing the state average by a little bit. Here we're at 28. We're up 2.2, and we're still missing the state average. Obviously, but making progress as far as moving to that direction. And then high school really blew it out of the water by the state. literature, not as high of a margin, but still doing really well in those areas. You have the next.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
It's interesting to me to see that math at the elementary school we're above the state average, high school we're way above the state average, middle school we're it's just strange that the kids can do math in elementary school and they can do math in high school. How the kids are struggling.
I would argue that our kids in middle schools can still do math. They're just not doing it in the PSSA manner that needs to be done in, and that's an area that we're working on. So when we take a look at those scores, when we get those huge data sheets back every summer, and Courtney talks about her data meeting, that's what they're digging into, like what standards aren't the kids doing well on, and really trying to target some of those areas, curricular resources, instructional practices. One of the things that we're going to work on, I have professional development scheduled for the middle school on January 19th. I have a group coming in. You know how like at the elementary they do a lot of small group instruction so that you can target each group of what they need. We're going to do some of that at the middle school here as well so that they can do a lot more small group instruction and really differentiate and be more targeted in what everyone needs. So that is a plan. Even though a lot of these numbers look great, and they are, like I'll take it, it's a small win, and we're looking for small wins as our kids keep moving forward. But we're still looking at like how can we get up to the state average or have more kids being proficient in advance. Any questions on this? So then we're going to go into reading. This is what's called PBAS, and it's Pennsylvania Added Assessment System. So what they do is they track kids longitudinal, and they look at how much they should grow from the end of last year and where all of their assessment data was, and where they should be at the end of when they take their PSSA. So this is growth. What you just saw was achievement scores. This is growth scores. This is saying these kids, if you're in green, grew as much as they were expected to. Like that's exactly year's growth is exactly where they were supposed to be. If they're light blue, they're above 1 year's growth, and if they're in the dark blue, they well exceeded their 1 year growth pattern or expectation. You'll see here in 8th grade, ELA, they missed the mark here, and the majority of their kids did not. That's not saying that no kids did, and not saying that all kids did, but when they take a look at overall for the grade, they were performing below what they were expected to in growth, and also in 5th grade was below the expectation. So those are conversations Joey and I are having with 5th grade ELA, and we did get some new teachers in 5th grade ELA this year. Spencer Peckard has been helping 5th grade ELA. Tara Wood is back in the district, so she is also helping 5th grade ELA. So we have some things in place, and then Courtney is working with 8th grade. So this is a lot of numbers, and I'm sorry. So, because a lot of times you guys will ask, like, what's the rest of the county doing? So we are the green, and you'll notice, so I did the lowest score, the highest score, and then what our score was, and we're the green on here. So in 3rd grade, third in the county as far as scores go overall. In 4th grade, I think we're third there as well. We're all bunched in, like those scores were all pretty close. Then you go to 5th grade. This is where you saw in the previous one where our kids did not meet their growth and had some lower scores. So we were actually the lowest in the county in 5th grade. Going into 6th grade, this 47.4 should be over here. 7th grade, also doing well. And then eighth grade, you see this dip as well. So those two of the sixth grade were the lowest, but then the rest were in usually like the third, fourth area in the county. And then going into math, same thing. This kind of, even though this is growth and not the achievement, you'll see how they do kind of mirror each other a little bit. So fourth grade was well above. You saw the fifth grade had taken a dip in their achievement scores. They also took a dip in their growth scores. Sixth grade was a little below. Seventh grade, you saw their scores went down, and so did their growth. And then, or didn't go down, it's just that their kids didn't meet that year with their growth. And then eighth grade met. The one thing I want to point out about sixth grade, because sometimes we look at this and we're like, oh my gosh, they just missed it and whatever. But sometimes you have to know the story behind the data. So I'm just going to share sixth grade math, for example. So there's only 2 teachers in sixth grade math. Last year was Mr. Green, who is in his 4th year of teaching, and Mr. Barden, who was in his 1st year of teaching and left in March. And then the kids had a day-to-day sub pretty much to the end of that school year. So the fact, and I'm not making excuses for that, it just tells a little bit more of the story versus just being a dot on a line here, is that even with a first-year teacher and some day-to-day subbing going on in there, the kids were still moving in a good trajectory. And we're finding more consistency. So that's kind of the point I want to make. In these grade levels where you're seeing more above growth is getting those consistent teaching teams. And so that's what Joey, Courtney, and I have been talking about. So you saw the 3 guys last Monday come in. That team's been together for, well, Todd and Nate have been together for years. And then bringing Justin under their wing, that's consistency. And so when I'm talking with Joey and Courtney and Dave and Kara, we're looking for some consistency in these grades where we have teacher consistency, instructional consistency, common assessment consistency, so all of that, so that we get all of these going in the right direction. So I just want to give you a little information behind what do we do with this. So this is math then, and I don't know why I couldn't get the colors right. I apologize because now in this one we're red. So last one you were looking at green, now you're looking at red. So you'll see where in 3rd grade we're all just clustered together here for the most part, except Gettysburg was the lowest there. Here we're the lowest, but it's not, I mean, we're kind of clustered, but I mean, it's not by much.
We're not the lowest.
Oh, darn, that's right, sorry. We're not the lowest, we're at 54. I even just said we're the 5th grade we are though. And then we're kind of clustered here as well, but we are just, we're up here, sorry. No, we're red. We are red. These 2 were all but neck and neck, but I think we beat them like by, they were 33.3 and we were 33.4, something like that. 8th or 7th grade, of course, the big dip that you saw in an earlier slide. And then here, 29.7, and you'll see, other than Gettysburg, there's a lot of struggle going on in 8th grade across the county. So one of the things Courtney is doing, ELA and math-wise, is reaching out to Gettysburg to say, what are you doing in middle school? Like, so she's gonna connect with their middle school principal and go up and spend some time there and see what they're doing to get some of those middle school scores moving in the right direction. This one I won't spend a whole lot of time on because the guys did a really great job last week, but you can see their data, advanced and proficient, and then what the state average is. So they're doing a really good job. The only area is when we do look at literature, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide then. Yep. I have the slides backwards. You'll see in literature that they are slipping a little bit as far as kids meeting the growth, and I'll get to that then for that slide. This is the AP data that we get at the beginning of every school year. We like to keep track of that because it goes into our building level scores as far as how many kids are getting a 3 or higher, which is what you're aiming for on an AP. So 85% of our kids who took an AP exam last year got a 3 or higher on it. You will see the number of kids went down and the number of exams, but keep in mind it's because we've added a lot of college and the high school courses. And so we have kids that are opting to take the 3 credit college and the high school because it's a guarantee, where if they take the test and they don't get a 3+, or if they don't go to a college that accepts the AP, then they take the AP exam. Not for nothing, it's just great practice, but you'll see these numbers decrease from there because of the college. And then this is what I was talking about. So Nate is working with the high school ELA teachers because even though their percentages are looking good as far as advanced and proficient, they're not growing their kids. And we're actually finding that they're not growing their highest kids. So that's conversations that, and I saw some shocked faces, that's not abnormal. Sometimes it's easier to grow your most struggling students with the different interventions and the extra time on curriculum. But so that'll be an area of focus to make sure that our ELA kids at the high school are growing. And then building level scores, this is what comes out to us. This is what the last piece of data I was waiting for that just came out like a week and a half ago to be able to finish this presentation. So this is elementary building scores, which is 66.2. And I didn't realize I was standing, so let me grab my cheat sheet. That puts us at 4th in the county for building level scores. And then I just want to talk a little bit about what goes into building level scores because do any of you go in and look at the Future Ready Index? Like it's an open site on PDE. So if you go in there, it'll break down a number of different categories. So to get this score, they're taking a look at the PSSA performance. They're taking a look at that growth data that I showed you as far as how much our kids are growing. They take a look at English language proficiency for multilingual learners. Then they have those on-track measures. Attendance, if you'll remember, attendance is one of our goals this year because that's one of the on-track measures that they take a look at. In grade 3, they look at the number of kids who are on grade level reading. And then in 7th grade, when we get to that, they look at 7th grade math. So you can imagine that's what they hit this year. At the high school, they look at, are we promoting kids every year, and are they staying with their 4-year cohort, or are they losing credits and going to graduate in 5 years? So that's a hit that sometimes high schools will take if they have a number of kids who don't meet that 4-year cohort. They take a look at, when we get to the high school, they look at industry credentials. Every building level, they take a look at career readiness. So we have career readiness standards that we do here at the elementary, at the middle school, and the high school. So everybody gets a score in how we're preparing kids for careers, and we do very well in that. And then they also take a look at how many advanced courses, like our rigorous study, AP, college, and high school, if we did IB courses, which we don't do here. And then they look at our CTEs and how our post-secondary transition data looks. So that's kind of everything that goes into these building scores. So the elementary was 4th in the county. NAMS was 5th in the county. And I don't think this is a shock. The high school was 1st in the county based on the presentation they did last week, and that is also the data I had. And then some iReady data. So Mr. Moran talked about this last week, so I won't belabor it, but you can see, and this yellow is not bad. So this is actually the beginning of the school year, which means they're not really one grade level below. This is the grade level they're starting in. Okay, this is like, so if you're in second grade and you're scoring here, that's okay, because you haven't had the second grade material yet. Now, when we get into the winter and the spring, you'll see this band start to shrink. And then the kids who are not growing, and this set of students also is where we really target those intensive interventions. So because if they're 2 or 3 grade levels below, like how are we getting them caught up? And that's where we use our iReady, we use our intervention specialists, our reading specialists, our coaches. They'll focus on this band right here for all of these. So that is the elementary. And then MAMS, you'll see, and this is typical as you go up through, if you have kids then in like 4th and 5th grade, like if you look at our grade data, you'll see that there's more kids in 5th grade that are 2+ years behind in grade levels, which then pushes it 2+ grade levels behind them when you get to the middle school. So closing those achievement gaps are really what we're focused on.
What was, what is the state of Kathy?
This is our fall diagnostic. So the second week of school, yeah. Yeah, they took their diagnostics, yeah, pretty much the second or third week of school. They had like a 2-week window to do it. And then Kay didn't take theirs till October to give them time to get in and get out. So, but you'll see these bands should shrink, and the green will get larger throughout the course of this school year. Somebody had asked about PSSA correlation because they do have that correlation. So they are finding that there's a pretty good correlation between the iReady data and the PSSA scores that came back. We did a crosswalk of those right at the beginning of the school year. The thing that we found that was interesting is really like the bubble kids who might be like below basic or basic, that bubble, or the bubble between proficient and below basic. Those were the kids that we found the most growth, and as far as being very accurate as to where they were going to fall in the